Hello students, how are you all? I hope you're all safe at home. It's been so long since we met. Now, as you know, I'm Mrs. Joyce Jayakumari, who is going to handle History and Civics for you. Okay? I pray God that this year must go as an excellent year. I pray for your wonderful performance in the board examination. Wish you all the best. Okay? Now, I'm going to start Civics Lesson 1.
The title of the lesson is The Union Legislature and the Union Parliament. The state establishes itself through government. Through government, the state realizes its ambitions and aspirations. Indian government is called as Union government. It has three wings: legislature, executive, judiciary. The functions of the government are performed through these three wings. India is the largest democracy in the world. Federal structure. India has union of states. Indian government is based on the Constitution of India. The Constitution specifies the distribution of legislative, administrative, and executive powers. These powers are distributed between the Union, Federal, Central government. Important features of federation. The essential feature is federalism, that is, at least two levels of governance are there in the country. The entire power does not concentrate in one level of government. Next point is jurisdiction, that is, area of power. The levels of government govern the same citizens, but their jurisdiction differs. This means powers are specified between the levels of government. That is, they may have their own powers to legislate and execute the laws. Next important feature is the powers and duties of the levels of government must be listed down in the constitution of that country. It assures the federal system of governance. Next is, one level of government cannot make any change in the provisions of the constitution. It needs the approval of all levels of government. The judiciary or court must have the power to interfere in the conflict between the two levels of the government. The meaning of the word conflict is difference of opinion, and it should be settled down by the judiciary and it must reach a resolution. Both levels of governments should have their own source of revenue, that is, money. India is a federal country. India is a union of states, which is nothing but the quasi-federal government. There are three levels of government in India, that is, the central government, the state government, and the municipal corporation are panchayats. Example, for example, central government means Delhi. State government, we can take the example of Tamil Nadu. Municipal corporation, we can take the example of Chennai Corporation. And panchayats, it's for villages. Our constitution has clearly given the legislative powers to different levels of government. These are given in the separate lists. That is, the constitution clearly demarcates the powers through different lists. The first one is the union list. It is mentioned in the constitution. That is, the central government can pass the laws on defense, finance, railways, banking, etc. Only the central government can pass these laws. Next is the state list. State government can pass laws with regard to transport, trade, commerce, agriculture, etc. Next is the concurrent list. The union and the state government can pass the laws on education, forest, trade unions, etc. If there is any difference of opinion between the central and the state government, the decision of the union government will prevail. So we can say that Indian constitution is a combination of federal and unitary system, and it's unique in the world. This federal system was taken from the Simon Commission report during the British period. Now we are going to learn about the unitary features of the Indian Constitution. The first point is, it says that the central government is more powerful. That is, we have a strong center when you compare with the states. The second point is, we have single common and unified constitution for all the states and the union territories. Prior to this, Jammu and Kashmir was given special status because of the Article 370. Now it is abolished. So Jammu and Kashmir also comes under the Indian Constitution. This point proves that central government is more powerful. The third point is, the parliament can amend, that is, change or alter the provisions of the constitution by single-handedly. Okay, now it does that by simple majority or by 2/3 majority. Simple majority means more than half of the members should be there to cast the vote, and 2/3 majority means more than 75% of the members should be present to cast their votes. And the next point is, the constitution provides for single citizenship for India, that is common to all the states and union territories. Then our constitution has not given equal status to all the states, because the representation in the Rajya Sabha is not equal, because it is decided on the basis of the population of the state. So some states may have more population, and some states will have less population. The last point is, our union parliament has the exclusive right of amending the constitution. No other body has that right. Only the parliament can amend the provisions of the constitution. So our constitution is called as quasi-federal. Okay. Next we are moving to the parliament. The word parliament is derived from the French word parlement, which means speaking. That is, it means meeting or session. That meeting is meant for discussion. Parliament is the legislative organ of the government. Our constitution adopted parliamentary form of government. In democracy, supreme power lies with the people's representative body. So, the parliament makes laws for the country, and the parliament is responsible for working of the democracy and functions according to the clauses laid down in the constitution. The parliament controls the Union Council of Ministers and also the national budget. Now, what does the parliament consist of? It has Lok Sabha, the House of the People, the Rajya Sabha, the Council of States. And the president is an integral part of the parliament, whether he sits in the parliament or not. Without his sign, the bill cannot become a law. So laws cannot be passed without his assent. Now we are going to learn about the Lok Sabha. Lok means people. So Lok Sabha is House of the People. Okay. Now the election to the Lok Sabha is conducted through the universal adult suffrage. That is, all the citizens of India who have attained 18 years are eligible to cast their vote in the election. Now, 61st Amendment Act of 1988, it reduced the voting age from 21 years to 18 age. Okay. Now next we move on to the composition. That is, what does the Lok Sabha consist of? The Lok Sabha can have maximum number of members is 552. That is, the maximum strength of the Lok Sabha is 552, out of which 530 members are representing from the states. and 20 members representing from the union territories, and that is 2 members can be selected from the Anglo-Indian community by the president if he feels it is necessary. Okay. Now at present the Lok Sabha consists of 545 members. Now what is the procedure for holding elections? That is, for holding elections for the Lok Sabha, India is divided into parliamentary constituencies. Constituencies are divided. Okay. The seats are allotted to the state and union territories in Lok Sabha with respect to its population. Okay. Now, care has been taken to see that ratio between the number of seats allotted to each seat and the population of the state should be the same for all states. Next, we move on to the reservation of seats in the Lok Sabha. Now, seats have been reserved in the Lok Sabha for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. At present, there are 84 seats reserved for SCs, that is scheduled castes, and 47 seats reserved for STs, scheduled tribes. Next, we move on to the term of the Lok Sabha. Usually, the term of the Lok Sabha is for 5 years, but the president can dissolve the Lok Sabha before its term if the party in power loses its majority. On the other hand, in the emergency period, Lok Sabha can be extended up to 1 year. So the extension cannot be made for a period more than 1 year. At the same time, during the emergency period, it can continue for 6 months after the emergency has been stopped. Now, the elections to the Lok Sabha are held by the secret ballot system, in which voters can cast their vote without any fear. Okay, and they are saved from the pulls and pressures of the politicians. Next is the sessions of the parliament. The period during which the house meets to conduct its business is known as a session. Okay, now the parliament must meet at least twice in a year. Now there should be gap of 6 months between the sessions. In India, if you take, there are 3 sessions in the parliament. That is budget session, February to May, monsoon session, July to September, and winter session, November to December. Okay students, now we have finished the subtopics like federal setup in India, in that features of federation, unitary features of constitution, and the parliament and Lok Sabha. Okay, I hope that you have clearly understood. Now I'll post the pages of the book of all these topics in the group. You go through it and learn well. All the best. Hello students, how are you all? Nice to meet you again in this video. Now we are going to start History Lesson 1, the First War of Independence 1857, that is causes and consequences. In 1600, English East India Company was established in India. Through that, Britishers came and settled here in India, and slowly they captured the states of India and laid their political foundation strongly in Indian soil. Okay, and till 1947, till we get independence, they continue to rule India. In this period, in 1857, Indian people conducted a large-scale revolt or rebellion against the Britishers. So, in this lesson, we are going to study about this introduction about this revolt as well as the causes and the course and the effects of the revolt. Now, the 19th century was a period of the revolt against the British rule. And this 1857 revolt was a large-scale reaction to the British policies and the measures. And it created a very great impact. It created a deep impression among the minds of the rulers as well as the people. So it created hostility and fear in the minds of the Indian people. It paved the way for the reorganization of the army and the government. And Indian society as well as economy also underwent drastic changes. Between 1757 and 1857, between this 100 years, a lot of revolts had been conducted in India, but all these revolts were not so significant like this 1857 revolt. It is very important and it is considered as a milestone in Indian history, because it is not a mere revolt concentrated in isolated area. Rather, it was a great revolt which spread all over India. Okay, and the army soldiers started it, and slowly the people also got involved in it, and then it became widespread and it became a popular upsurge against the British rulers. Now, English East India Company's rule came to an end. After that, British Crown took in charge of Indian administration. And then this revolt has been called by the Indian historians as the First War of Independence, but the English historians called it as the Sepoy Mutiny. Now we are going to analyze the causes of the Great Revolt. Okay. Now, first one is the political causes. We can say that the greedy attitude of the British, that is for territorial expansion, led to the outbreak of this Great Revolt. The first one is the doctrine of lapse. You all know that doctrine of lapse was introduced by Lord Dalhousie. It produced a great wave of resentment in the minds of the people. Okay. Now, what is this doctrine of lapse? If a ruler dies without his son, his kingdom would automatically lapse to the British kingdom. That is, if the particular king does not have his own son, his kingdom would lapse to the British kingdom. This is doctrine of lapse. Under this policy, certain states in India was annexed by the British Empire. Okay, this doctrine was against the Hindu law, which recognized the adopted child as a legal heir, but this doctrine of lapse was deadly against this. So it created panic in the minds of the people. Now, what are the states that were annexed under this doctrine of lapse? That is Satara, Jhansi, Nagpur and Jodhpur. So the doctrine also stated that the adopted son could inherit neither the throne nor the title. So they were not at all considered after the death of their father. Next is the disrespect to Nana Sahib and Rani of Jhansi. Who was Nana Sahib? He was the adopted son of last Peshwa of Baji Rao II. Baji Rao II, that is the kingdom of Maharashtra. This Nana Sahib was refused to be given the pension after his father by the Britishers. Okay, this created anger in his mind, and he spent an enormous money to spread revolt against the Britishers throughout the country. And Rani of Jhansi also was annoyed by the British policy that said that adopted son cannot inherit the kingdom. But Rani Jhansi wanted her adopted son to become a king after the death of her husband. So this does not coincide with that. Okay, so she also became a dead enemy of the British administration in India. Next we move on to the discourtesy to the Mughal emperor. Dalhousie tried to humble the Mughal emperor Bahadur Shah, but it was not Bahadur Shah's son should leave the historic Red Fort and move to the outskirts of Delhi. To add to this insult, next Governor General Lord Canning, he announced that in 1856 the successors of the king should no more called kings, but they are mere princes. That's all. They should not enjoy any position as king. So it led to the discontentment among the Mughal emperors and their descendants. Zeenat Mahal, the wife of Bahadur Shah, also was against this move, and she began to work out against the British Empire in India. Next is effects on other princes. There was fear and insecurity in the minds of the rulers and the rulers of the princely states. They did not know when they would be deposed, and they were not assured of their kingdoms even if they were loyal to the Britishers. And this too was a rude shock to the people as well. Next we move on to the annexation of Awadh. Awadh was annexed by the British administration, and it created a hatred in the minds of the people, as well as the whole country resented against this. Okay. For this annexation, Dalhousie gave an excuse. That is, he said that it was to free the people from the oppression of the Nawab and the Talukdars. And the annexation of Awadh was on the pretext of the misgovernment, created a panic among the Indian rulers. Higher land revenue, additional taxes, unemployment, and confiscation of estates became common day by day. So, British often broke their promises and treaties and reduced the Indian states to the subordination. It also led to the loss of political prestige to the Indian princely states. Next is the administrative failures. The people found themselves in a new atmosphere, okay, and the English laws and the English language was totally new for them, and they felt that they were aligned to the system, and it was totally different, and they were not accustomed to it. Second, the Indian officers were not given the higher post in civil and military administration, and it was deeply opposed by the middle and upper class of the Indian society. Next, the Indian rulers had supported the religious preachers and religious institutions, but the British administration did not do that. So the Pandits and the Mullavis felt insecure and threatened, about their future. So they also became dead enemies of the Britishers. Next is the spreading of rumor. There was a common belief among the people of India that once every 100 years the rule will change in India. That is, they thought that the Battle of Plassey in 1757, and after that it has become 100 years in 1857. After this revolt, the British administration would change. It was simply it was a belief and a rumor. All these were the political causes of the revolt of 1857. Dear students, we have completed a part of the lesson. I will post this part of the lesson in the group. You can go through it. You frame the questions and answers. Whenever you watch the video, please do the follow-up work so that it will be easy for you at the end. See you in the next video. Bye.